The rearview mirror was a dangerous object. For Sabrina, a woman who built her empire on architectural precision and calculating risks, the rectangular strip of glass had become the most unpredictable variable in her life. It was supposed to be a tool for safety. Instead, for the last 3 weeks, it had been the frame for the most distracting pair of slate-gray eyes she had ever seen. "We're 10 minutes out from the gala, Ms. Vance." The voice came from the front seat. Smooth. Low. A voice that seemed to vibrate through the rich leather of the back seat. Sabrina shifted, the sequins of her gown scratching against the upholstery. "Thank you, Allison. And please, for the 10th time, call me Sabrina. The workday is over." Allison's eyes flickered to the mirror again. There was a pause, a professional hesitation that drove Sabrina maddeningly crazy. "Old habits, Sabrina. Traffic is dense on 5th. I'm taking the side streets." "You always know the best way," Sabrina murmured, looking out the window at the rain-slicked streets of the city. "It's my job to know." That was the problem. It was her job. It had started simply enough. Sabrina's license had been suspended, a clerical error regarding unpaid tickets from a car she'd sold years ago, combined with a lead foot she couldn't deny. Grounded and in the middle of the biggest merger of her firm's history, she hired a private car service. She requested discretion and punctuality. She got Allison. Allison was a study in contradictions. She wore the stark black suit of a chauffeur with the casual grace of an athlete. She opened doors with white-glove formality, but her hands, Sabrina noticed during a frantic exchange of documents, were rough, calloused, capable, and unpolished. The slow burn didn't start with a spark. It started with silence. Usually, drivers were chatty, or they played the radio too loud, or they drove aggressively. Allison drove like the car was an extension of her body. She knew when Sabrina was on a call and needed silence. She knew when Sabrina was on the verge of a panic attack and needed the AC turned up. By the second week, the silence had changed. It wasn't empty anymore. It was heavy. Charged. One Tuesday, after a brutal board meeting where Sabrina had been mansplained to for 3 hours, she had collapsed into the back seat, pinching the bridge of her nose. Without a word, Allison had handed her a bottle of sparkling water, Sabrina's specific brand, and a small packet of aspirin. Then, she bypassed the office and drove to a cliffside overlook just outside the city limits. "This isn't the office," Sabrina had said, though she made no move to open the door. Allison had turned the engine off. For the first time, she turned around in her seat, draping one arm over the steering wheel. The barrier between front and back felt non-existent. "You weren't breathing right. I figured the skyline looks better from here than it does from a spreadsheet." Sabrina had stared at her, stunned. "Are you kidnapping me, Allison?" A rare, lopsided smile broke Allison's stoic face. It transformed her entirely, making her look younger, softer. "I'm recalibrating you. 5 minutes. Then we go back to the Sharks." They stayed for an hour. They didn't talk about business. They talked about jazz. They talked about why Allison, who had a degree in structural engineering, preferred driving. "I like the motion," she had said. "I like moving forward without having to build the road myself." That was the moment the rearview mirror became dangerous. Back in the present, the car glided to a halt in front of the museum. The paparazzi flashbulbs were already popping, a strobing nightmare of white light. "Ready?" Allison asked. "Not in the slightest," Sabrina admitted. She felt a phantom weight on her chest. The merger was signed, but the celebration felt hollow. She wanted to be back at the cliffside overlook. She wanted the quiet of the car. Allison exited the vehicle. A moment later, the back door opened. The humidity of the night rushed in, but so did Allison. She held out a hand to help Sabrina out. Strictly speaking, it was protocol. But when Sabrina placed her hand in Allison's, the grip was firmer than necessary. Allison's thumb brushed against Sabrina's pulse point, just once. A secret Morse code. "I've got you. I'll be right here waiting," Allison said, her voice dropping an octave, meant only for Sabrina. Sabrina stepped out, the camera flashes blinding her, but her skin burned where Allison had touched her. "Don't go far," she whispered back. The gala was an exercise in torture. Champagne that tasted like acid, conversations that revolved around net worths, and men who stared at Sabrina's neckline rather than her eyes. She checked her watch every 4 minutes. At 10:15 p.m., she couldn't take it anymore. She texted Allison, "Get the car, please." The reply was instantaneous. Out front. Engine running. Sabrina practically ran out of the venue, ignoring the valet, ignoring the calls of her business partners. She spotted the sleek black sedan and dove into the back seat like a fugitive. "Go," she commanded, breathless. "Just drive." Allison peeled away from the curb with expert precision, merging into traffic before the paparazzi could focus their lenses. "Home?" Allison asked. "No," Sabrina said. She pulled the pins out of her hair, letting the dark waves fall over her shoulders. She kicked off her heels. "I don't want to go home to an empty house. Just drive. Anywhere." The partition was down. The city lights blurred into streaks of gold and red. "You did it, you know," Allison said softly. "I checked the news. The merger is official. You own the skyline now." "I don't feel like an owner," Sabrina sighed, shifting to the center of the bench seat, closer to the front console. "I feel like a product." She looked at Allison's profile in the dim light of the dashboard. The sharp jawline, the focus in her eyes. "Allison." "Yeah." "Pull over." Allison frowned, checking the mirrors. "We're on the bridge. I can't really." "Take the next exit. Find a spot, please." Allison took the exit. She pulled into a quiet industrial side street near the docks, under the amber glow of a street lamp. She put the car in park and killed the engine. "Is everything okay?" Allison turned in her seat, concern etching lines onto her forehead. Sabrina didn't answer. Instead, she unbuckled her seatbelt. The air in the car suddenly felt thin, electric. "My license reinstatement came in the mail today," Sabrina said. Allison went still. "Oh, that's good news. You won't need the service anymore." "No," Sabrina said. "I won't." "Well," Allison's voice was tight. She looked down at her hands on the wheel. "It's been a pleasure driving for you, Sabrina. I can file the final invoice tomorrow." "You're fired," Sabrina said. Allison's head snapped up. "Excuse me. I'm terminating your contract. Effective immediately." "Did I do something wrong? I got you here safely. You're missing the point, Allison," Sabrina interrupted, her voice trembling slightly. She leaned forward, bridging the gap between the front and back seats. "I can't date my employee. It's a conflict of interest. My HR department is very strict about power dynamics." The silence that followed was louder than the city traffic. Allison stared at her, her gray eyes widening as the realization washed over her. The tension that had been building for 3 weeks, the glances in the mirror, the detour to the cliff, the thumb against the wrist, suddenly snapped. "Oh," Allison breathed. "So," Sabrina whispered, her face inches from the gap between the front seats. "Since you are currently unemployed, are you free for a date?" Allison didn't answer with words. She unbuckled her seatbelt and shifted, turning her body fully toward the back. The professional distance evaporated. The chauffeur's mask fell away, leaving just the woman beneath it. "I don't know," Allison murmured, her gaze dropping to Sabrina's lips. "I usually charge extra for after-hours consultations." "I think I can afford it," Sabrina smiled. Allison reached out, her hand cupping Sabrina's cheek. No gloves, just warm skin. She pulled Sabrina gently forward. "Shut up and kiss me, boss," Allison whispered. "I'm not your boss anymore," Sabrina replied, right before their lips met. It wasn't a slow burn anymore. It was a wildfire. It was the taste of rain and expensive champagne and the relief of finally arriving at the destination. When they finally pulled apart, breathless and dizzy, Allison rested her forehead against Sabrina's. "So," Allison said, her thumb tracing Sabrina's lower lip. "Where to now?" Sabrina looked out the window, then back at the woman who had navigated her through the stormiest weeks of her life. "I don't care," Sabrina said. "As long as you're driving." "I'm not on the clock," Allison reminded her with a smirk. "Fine," Sabrina laughed, a genuine, free sound. Then come back here. Let the world wait for a while. And for the first time in her life, Sabrina didn't care about the schedule, the destination, or the rearview mirror. She was exactly where she needed to be.